Bad Omens played their first ever European headline show in Dublin, Ireland on Friday night, and I was there to witness it all. Now, there was many talking points that came out of this live show, and in order for me to actually get to it and stay on track without rambling, I'm going to go through a list of topics that I think are important to discuss with you right now as an idea of what we're going to be covering in this video. I'm going to pass out in a moment. Jesus Christ. Massive talking point, the new production that the band have brought with them for this European tour. Again, this is the first leg of the entire European tour. So it was all being revealed on the night as to what it was going to look like for the next couple of weeks, months, maybe even years. This is a massive step up from the band. The new live set list. Again, this is going to be their set list, assuming for the rest of the tour, maybe with some changes, depending on whether or not there's some, I don't know, vocal issues. I don't know, I'm speculating. But this is the new set list that they're running with for the Do You Feel Love European headline show across Europe. We'll get into all that. I'll go through every single song and give my opinion on which songs I thought were fantastic, and maybe some critical moments that I had throughout the set list as well. The emotional moments that I personally had during the set, which was not something I was prepared for. I wasn't anticipating that at all. We'll get into that. The brand new songs, of course, being debuted live. They've played Impose and Spectre, but Dying to Love and the new one, Left for Good, I almost forgot the name of that one, was debuted live in Dublin, so I'll talk about those. The crowd being dead, that was another topic of conversation which I'll discuss. That was something that I'd seen brought up quite a lot across social media with the videos that have surfaced, and a video that I posted on my Instagram where people were saying that the crowd looks terrible. I'll talk about all that. Noah's on-stage interactions with the crowd, and then I will round up with whether or not I think the show was worth seeing. Was it worth the hefty price tag? I think I paid €1 for my ticket a couple months ago. Now, not that that's probably going to sway anyone, because I think it's probably mostly sold out, but it's worth talking about because concert tickets have obviously gone through the roof, and you want to make sure that these shows are good for those ridiculous price tags. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now, like I mentioned, this is my second time personally seeing Bad Omens in Dublin in the exact same arena. About a year and a half ago, 2 years now at this point. Yeah, in January next year, it will be 2 years since they played in Dublin last. Like I mentioned, that they were supporting Bring Me the Horizon, which arguably have one of the best live shows on earth right now. And you could tell with Bad Omens, with their new production that they had, which I'll b-roll some clips throughout this video, you'll see the production, I don't want to say is directly inspired by Bring Me the Horizon, but I would imagine going on tour with a band of their stature and seeing what is possible in the genre has got to be very motivational. Before we get into Bad Omens specifically, there was obviously two bands supporting. There was The Ghost Inside and Bill Murray. Now, with the way in which my apartment is situated in terms of the 3 arena, it was an early start to be able to get in there for The Ghost Inside. Especially, I don't really know much of their music, so I wasn't too concerned about missing them. Didn't really have much draw. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys in the comments can let me know. The last time when Bring Me played, I didn't make the effort to go in and see Static Dress, who were the opening band, and I've done it again with The Ghost Inside. So plenty of fun moments throughout the Bill Murray set. Loads of fun crowd interactions. Bill Murray are obviously a very seasoned band at this point. They did the Sleep Token tour there not too long ago. That was obviously a great look for them, putting them in front of many new fans. And you can see the confidence oozing out of the band. They're just they're so fun. You'd swear they're playing to a dive bar. There's just it's as if it's a small room the way he goes on. It's there's no nerves. Great energy from the band, and not just Johnny Frank, who is in and of himself an enigmatic character. He's so unassuming. You look at him and he just looks like an absolute brute. He's built like a brick shithouse. Then he sings, and he has I have it written on my notes in my phone, because when I'm at the gigs, I take notes just so I remember certain details that maybe would get lost in the whole night. He's so unassuming. He looks like a fucking caveman or a warthog running around the stage. I mean that in a complimentary fashion. He's a very stocky bloke, but he's got such a High School Musical-esque delivery to some of his clean vocals. And again, I mean that in a complimentary way. I know nothing about this sounds complimentary, but take me for my word that it was a fucking incredible performance. They were very, very good. The only thing that I would say slightly critical about Bill Murray, in moments, Gabby's voice was lost, I thought, a little bit when she was like harmonizing with the rest of the band. She did have like isolated moments where she was talking to the crowd and also doing her own part singing wise. I thought she was great then, but there was some like mixing moments. Maybe just a me thing, maybe other people can let me know in the comments. I just found that she was like, you could hear her and she was supposed to be louder in the mix, but she just wasn't quite like piercing through a lot of the other, you know, the bass, the guitar, the drums, also Johnny Frank singing as well. So a few moments like that where I was kind of like, okay, that was probably the only thing. And that's like, if I'm being really nitpicky. Otherwise, really, really good band.
It's my third time coming to Dublin, Ireland, because I fucking love this place, man. Thank you so much for being welcoming to us. This song is about type 2 diabetes. It's called Corn-Fed Yeetus.
So, on to the main event. This is what we're all here for. Bad Omens came up next after Bill Murray, maybe like half an hour after Bill Murray finished. Went to go get a drink, came back just in time for the snippets that we'd been seeing over the past couple of months with the releases of the single. Bad Omens, if you've been keeping up with their social media, they've been doing a lot of like snippets, teasing here and there, where they'll post like a cinematic clip with some actors. I personally haven't been keeping too up to date with all of that, but I think if you are going to see them live on this show, you should maybe do your best to try and keep up with the lore, because I think it would have helped me a little bit with the pacing of the show, because thematically the show was loosely based around those like cassette tapes, which I'll kind of explain in a little bit more detail. So the show opens up with the two screens on each side of the stage. I'm assuming this will be much the same kind of a setup for all of the shows. It might be venue specific, obviously with there being two massive screens in the 3 arena. There was the videos playing, which basically kicked off the show, and it was like tape 1, and then it would do all of the talking, and we had some of the clips that we'd seen in the original Spectre video. And then of course the song to start off the show was Spectre, which is in some ways a risky song to start a show, because the energy is at such a high after the likes of Bill Murray, and then people are going to the bar, you know, the drinks are starting to kick in, everyone's excited, and then you're bringing the energy right down to be very dramatic and dark, which is what Spectre is. So that's obviously a very interesting way of starting a show, because you're not starting with like a big gut punch like we're here. It's a very slow build, but of course with the absolute specimen of a man that Noah Sebastian is and how good his vocals are, it was quite eerie, very chilling start to a show, but it had everyone kind of on the edge of their seat, because everyone knows what part is coming next after Spectre, with the big kind of industrial breakdown, which again is quite new for the band as well. They've been experimenting in this realm of industrial. So having something like that, I was kind of interested to see how well that actually lands live, because it's not your stereotypical like fucking 4 to the 4 breakdown. It is this like kind of spirally with all the synths and stuff going around. So that was sick. That was Spectre to start off the entire show, which is obviously, in my opinion, one of their best songs. So yeah, those like video clips are very important to kind of be somewhat aware of, in my opinion, to like fully grasp the theme of the show, because every couple of songs the band would go off stage and the clips would start to play again. It would be like tape 1, tape 2, tape 3. I think they did 5. I recall seeing tape 5 as the last one, and then obviously they go on to finish up the show. But they do keep coming back to that. And there was, again, I'll speak about it in a moment, but there was a moment during one of the songs where one of the tapes came, I don't know which tape it was, maybe tape 3 or 4, where I got choked up with the clip that they used, and I don't fully know what the theme was. I kind of locked in for this one a little bit, but it was just some of the actual language being used that just gave me chills and got me choked up. And I know the portion, I've seen the clip on Instagram before, but again, I've never really cared too much about the Bad Omens lore. It's not something that's like dragged me in too much, but it's kind of made me want to like pay more attention to it in future.
For what it's worth, I'm not angry anymore. But I know it's too late. I know you can't stay. This place, it's not meant to hold the both of us. You don't belong here anyway. You never did. Goodbye, friend.
my levels, all of the evidence, I don't know, just a fraud.
So yeah, obviously we started with Spectre, then it went on to Glass Houses, which is one of their older songs, which I love, has a great chorus and everything. That was a fun song. I wasn't expecting that as the second song, especially after Spectre, but that's what we got. The Drain, also a surprising song, a decent song, but again, more industrial vibes. And I did feel like there was certain songs on the set that maybe like a lot of people just didn't really know that well, which is kind of weird because again, Bad Omens have had such a like crazy rise with some of the stuff off of the Death to Peace of Mind and then some of their newer stuff. So a lot of the older stuff maybe is kind of going over people's heads to a certain degree because it is really, really good, but it is kind of like a different sound. It's more of like a Bring Me the Horizon sound. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to see how the crowd was reacting to certain songs, but even just like how the set list unfolded so far, it was Spectre, Glass Houses, The Drain, then the Death of Peace of Mind, which is obviously a massive song, and then the debut or the live debut of Dying to Love, which is not the most recent single, it is the one prior to that. And obviously this is a big deal because people are waiting to see this song being debuted with the live production. Again, I'll get into the live production in a moment because there was nothing at this point that was like really standing out as like a massive increase in the production from what I've seen in some of their other shows. Obviously, compared to the Bring Me the Horizon show, the production has gone through the roof because they were just a supporting band. They didn't get all the fun bells and whistles that Bring Me had, but it did start to like unfold as the night went on. So, Dying to Love, I like the song. It's one of, I don't know where I would, it's maybe like my third favorite of the new singles. So it's not like one of my all-time favorite Bad Omens songs. It's a catchy song, but I did feel that the mix on the song, and I can't quite put my finger on it, maybe because my ears were starting to ring, having just listened to all of Bill Murray, and I wasn't wearing my earplugs. I did bring my earplugs, but I feel like in the bigger venues, you have a little bit more like leeway to not have to put the earplugs in because you're a little bit further back and like the PA system isn't as intense in a small room. But I just felt like the mix didn't sell the song for how good it could be. I don't know if it's the crashing of the cymbals or something that just like fills up so much space that made some of the details, especially because of the delivery in that song. It's very kind of like slow and shoegazy and kind of like Chino Moreno-esque. So the instruments are very overbearing in that. And because it's their first time performing it, maybe they haven't like fully gotten it down to a T. But that was like one of the only moments where I felt like the song was being lost a little bit in the noise of the performance, if that makes sense. Then we had Concrete Jungle, which is always a great song. I fucking love that song. The opening song to their most popular album to date. Then they had Nowhere to Go, which is another song as well that was good. They skipped the last chorus from what I'm seeing. I don't recall that, but I've seen in the set list. People are saying that the last chorus was skipped. I just burped there. I hope you didn't hear that. Then they played Limits, which is another great song. I love it. Again, it's very like straightforward, kind of like Bring Me the Horizon-esque song. It has a lot of Bring Me the Horizon tropes, metalcore song, but it's a great chorus again. They've been writing good choruses for fucking years at this point. Then Artificial Suicide, fantastic. Again, I'm kind of skipping through some of these songs just to go through the set list because anytime I don't have much to say about the song, it's either because it was just, they just played it, I've heard it before in a live environment, they didn't do anything like spectacular with it, they just played it and it was great, or you know, if I skip past it, there was nothing intrinsically wrong with it. If I stop on it, it's either it was a standout moment or it was maybe a moment that could have been improved, or I just felt personally that it wasn't the best moment for them across the set. But one moment I do want to stop on is Van. So I was surprised to hear this being played because the entire song is essentially a poppy song. I know it's Bad Omens on the production and the writing of the song and the mixing and the instruments and everything along those lines, but it's Poppy doing all the vocals. So I heard that song being teed up, and this is where the production like really came to life. This is where you were like, holy shit. So I'm just going to read out what I have here because I've taken loads of notes just to try and compartmentalize everything and not miss any of these moments that, you know, happen. So Poppy was doing the part, but Noah spoke along with it. So Poppy wasn't there. It was just Poppy playing over the PA system, like the song being played. The band are obviously playing it, but Poppy was just being like, fed in through the speakers. But Noah was on stage performing it. So you could hear him. A lot of people were saying that Noah basically had like a voice changer on to make himself sound like Poppy, which I think is a bit far-fetched. Even with the capabilities of AI these days, I don't think that's really something that would be too possible to not sound pretty shit in a live environment where like Noah sings and it makes Poppy's voice. I don't think we're quite there yet to really replicate that to make it sound well enough to play in a live environment. But Noah did his part, or essentially did Poppy's part, but as like a kind of a bassier undertone. So he had like a kind of a robotic filter on him, but it was like layered to kind of like harmonize with Poppy. So it was still Poppy leading the song as it's intended because it's her doing all the vocals. But Noah basically kind of like, I don't want to say sang along. It's not really a singy song. He spoke along to it and it was cool. But the main thing about this entire performance was the stage kind of transforming. This was like a transformative part of the set. If you've seen the clip I put out on social media on like TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram, you'll have seen the best way I can describe it is kind of like a War of the Worlds type theme. If you guys have seen War of the Worlds with those big silly robots that go around and like shoot their arms out and stuff like that, it's terrifying. I watched that as a kid and it just haunted me forever, even though robots to me just aren't that scary. But this kind of robot, scary as fuck. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. I'll put something on screen to show you guys what I'm talking about. This is when the stage, like, whoa, there was a moment of like almost awe, I felt anyway in the crowd. I felt it from the crowd where it wasn't like much of a reaction from the crowd because I feel like everyone was kind of like dumbfounded by it. Everyone was a little bit like in awe of what they were looking at. You know, when you see like some visual spectacle, it kind of felt a little bit like that, where this just popped up on the screen after like 6 or 7 songs. And it was like, whoa, okay. Because we'd seen the stage, like we'd seen all the different like boxes like stacked up on top of each other. But this was the first time that they kind of transformed it into this like Bring Me the Horizon-esque storyline, where there was like these robotic octopus arms flying around and sparks coming out. It was like this system meltdown. That was really, really cool. That was like the first moment where I was like, oh, they're stepping this shit up. Like they're taking this band to the next level. And there was definitely a moment I felt personally, I don't know, maybe again, people in the comments can let me know. Was there like a bit of an awe factor in the arena? I felt like there was a moment where people kind of like had this, it was like a bit of a small section of silence, just enough to be noticed, where it was like, oh, everyone's kind of like, whoa. I'll have to watch back the clip and see if people actually reacted like that, because I do feel like people around me were like, whoa, like this is kind of mad. And then it took a moment for people to kind of react to it because they were all just taking in the spectacle of the whole thing. So after the Van song came on, they had Left for Good, and they may have played a small like video clip before this one as well, but this was possibly this is either the best or the second best heavy moment of the night for me. So Left for Good, the live debut, the most recent of the new songs, was played, and the second drop in the breakdown just because it has the breakdown. I don't love the song. It's probably my least favorite of the new singles, but the second drop in that breakdown is ridiculous. They had the pyro for it as well, and you could just feel the heat of the pyro on that second drop. That like bass boosted just hit me in the face, and it was like, whoa. That was another kind of moment where it was like, I feel like there was a second or two from the crowd that was like, especially a bit further back. I was quite back in the middle, so obviously it wasn't like a lot of moshing and jumping around, so it was more of just like taking in the spectacle. And it did feel like there was a moment of like, whoa, this is, again, another pause of like, did you guys just feel the fucking bass rush through your body there? Because they had heavy moments throughout the set. Like they played Artificial Suicide before this, but this one was like a special heavy moment. It really just ripped through the crowd. Anyways, after that, it was Anything More Than Human, which I personally love. That's not one of those songs that I really go back to much, but when it was played live, I was like, oh, this is such a great chorus. It's quite a simple metalcore song. It has JTKV doing the big call out from Era, which is was kind of cool, like, because Era is still a relatively small band. I know they've toured with Bad Omens before. Yeah, just kind of like hearing JT's moment in this massive arena, it was kind of cool, because JT's a fucking cool bloke. He might even be watching this video, who knows. Then, What Do You Want From Me, What It Cost, Like a Villain, and then I believe after the Like a Villain song there was like a short interlude, and just before I pass out here I'm going to make sure this incense doesn't just burn all over the table, so I'm going to just stop that there. Okay, we're good. Then there was like a short interlude where Noah addresses the crowd, and this is the first time I've seen him do something like this. I guess because it's their headline show, he's now kind of responsible for what goes on and people's like lasting impressions of the band, because they've obviously done headline shows, I guess, in smaller arenas and shit like that. This is like a big deal. They haven't done an arena show before, I believe, or like an arena headline. This is their first headlining, maybe in Europe. I might be bullshitting with this, but he kept saying this is their first time doing a headline arena tour. So maybe that is what it was. But he had a few moments where I'm getting some interference here, apologies. He had a few moments where he was talking to the crowd. He was talking about how he got like an Irish haircut, which I don't necessarily know what that one was about, because I didn't see anything necessarily Irish. It would have been like a skin fade for like a low skin fade was what I was expecting when he said he got an Irish haircut. But he had a nice moment where he spoke to the crowd. There was some ole, 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 ole chants going, and he's just an awkward man. But it's like such an endearing part of his character. There's like a really endearing quality to someone who could make a grown man cry with some of his like melodies and some of his clean vocals, but also could lead multiple grown men into a fucking war zone with how insanely good he sounds when he's screaming. Like he's got such a like timbre. Is it timbre is the word I'm looking for? He's got like such a roughness to his voice when he screams that is just like motivating as fuck, that makes you want to just march into war. So for someone who's got like that, such a dichotomy between the two aspects of his vocal capabilities, to be so like, I want to say lacking in self-awareness, but that sounds like it's a bad thing. But like, he has every right to be the most arrogant motherfucker ever. Like he's a tall, handsome motherfucker who can sing and scream. He's leading a very popular band at the moment that a lot of women are very into, as seen by the amount. The concert was a 50-50 split. Like it was 50-50 men and women, which is kind of insane, because most metal shows that I've been to are like complete flute fests, you know what I mean? So he has kind of every right to be really arrogant, which I'm glad he isn't. But you get the point I'm trying to make, is that he has every right to just be a complete arsehole, but he's like so lacking in self-awareness. He's like unaware of how cool he is, and he's really like awkward and kind of goofy on stage, and he has this little moment where he's talking to the crowd, and then he's like, well, I'm really bad at this, so can we like, you want to hear our song? He's like trying and failing in theory, but that's the endearing part of his character, that he's actually succeeding, because everyone knows he's like shy and he doesn't have social media. So him trying his best is like the cute kind of like, it's just a wholesome moment that he had on stage. It was really, really nice, because again, you see this wild stage and all of this crazy production, and then you're like, he's just a normal fucking bloke who's like dealing with the insanity of selling out arena shows across the world. Yeah, it was just a very human moment, which is why these live shows are so fun to be at,
Why you live here, I get it. Pretty cool. Went to a comedy show last night when we got in. That was really fun. Shout out Craig's Comedy Den. Pretty dope. It's like 30 people there, so free promo for them. He asked if I shot them out on stage. He said he'd give me a hat, and I said that's a fair deal. 8,000 people. Shout out your Comedy Den, I get a free hat. It's a good deal. Like I said, this is only our second time here. It's our first time headlining, and it is pretty fucking unreal. For this many people to show up and do something like that, see little old us. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. You like my new haircut, by the way? I got it here. I went to the hair place. I said, give me something Irish. This is what I got, so, I don't really talk much, but I have so much to say. I don't know this one. I'm in a different key. Wow, this is pretty cool. This is actually our first headline arena tour as well, which is also pretty cool. I don't know how we got away with it, but here we are. You guys want to hear some more music? I'm bad at this. You want to hear our most popular song, Just Pretend?
At the end of his speech, he was like, you guys want to hear our most popular song, Just Pretend? Then he crushed Just Pretend. I'm not going to go into that. That's obviously their most popular song. Incredible song. That really got the crowd going. You could really tell a lot of people were there for, you know, that was probably the first song that they were introduced to with Bad Omens, which was probably one of my first songs as well. So I'm not even hating on that. Then they played Impose, which was very interesting because it was like very late in the set. I was like, this is a kind of a wild song because it's quite chill in nature, but it felt like almost Bad Omens' answer to something like Sleep Token would do in a live environment. It was very drum orientated because it's a drum and bass song, but obviously it's not played through the PA system. Their drummer, he was incredible across this song. I can't remember what his name is. What is his name? Zach or something? No, I don't know what his name is. But regardless, he had an incredible performance in this song. Very intense song from start to finish in terms of the actual drum performance. Noah added some screams. It had the confetti cannons, which were the first time that they were released. Again, a massive part of the production, which didn't exist with the, you know, other shows they've done, or I guess the show that they did with Bring Me the last time. So again, these are all just like massive elements of their live performance that are being introduced in, which is very, very cool. Confetti, big emotional moments. And then we knew there was one song that hadn't been played yet. The whole crowd they were aware that this song hadn't been played yet. The band goes off stage and no one's moving, you know? Some people had their coats on and I was like, you just don't know, do you? You've only listened to Bad Omens this week. This is your first week of listening to Bad Omens, because if you know Bad Omens, you know that there's one particular song that has not been played yet. We're like 17 songs deep and there's one song that's not been played and you're trying to leave. No one was leaving. Everyone was like looking around and, you know, the front of house lights hadn't come on yet. So we knew, but there was a bit of a wait. And then the like kind of storm of ashes come up on screen. This kind of like red, misty, almost like tornado looking fireball thing comes up on the screen. I don't even know how to describe it. The band comes back on stage. And of course, the encore, the outro is Dethrone, which just, no matter what, tears the fucking house down. It is one of the best heavy live songs you can possibly hear. And it really highlights to me that Bad Omens have just got the heavy side of their sets from a live standpoint so dialed in. That is when they're at their absolute best. I know a lot of it, like, ironically, they're popular because of Noah's beautiful, like, falsetto vocals and his melodies. But, like, they're best when heavy. And that's why a lot of people are, like, dying for that really, really heavy moment. Something like another Dethrone or an Artificial Suicide on the upcoming album or whatever the fuck it's going to be. There's no album announcement yet. Whatever their next project is going to be. So people are just dying for it. And hearing it live again just reiterates why we need more heavy music. They are so goddamn good when it comes to the heavy stuff. Dethrone blew the fucking roof off the place. As anticipated, the pyro, the breakdowns, Noah's screams in this song. He like kind of improvises at the end and just does more screams. And it's just even better than it sounds in the record. Snare bombs all over the place. Just such a good song. And even on that song alone, that song will be enough for me to be like, you need to see Bad Omens live. Everything else is just bonus. Dethrone live, one of the best songs you will see in the modern heavy metal space, for sure. So before we wrap up, let's talk about some of the things I discussed or touched on in the intro about the speculation that the crowd was a little bit dead. And, you know, there's some people online talking about certain clips that were posted. We're like, what the fuck is up with the crowd? So when I was there, from my own personal experience, without anyone else's like input here, I did feel like the crowd was a little bit dead. And I've said this many times in the past about Dublin shows. I know people who are in maybe like the hardcore scene or the more niche communities within the Dublin scene will say, oh, you just need to go to the right shows. These are like big commercial shows. the crowd aren't like real true metal fans, so the crowds are always going to be dead. And I hear that for sure. I've had a few gigs where I felt like the shows weren't great. Tesseract played in Dublin with Unprocessed, and I felt like there was times where the crowd was a little bit dead. It's not an isolated incident that I felt that the crowd was dead. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here like saying that I'm leading the fucking charge. I stand at the back. It's not really my thing. But it is nice to have maybe the young bucks go out there and do it for us. I'm 28. I need to relax a little bit. But like, you know what I mean? Maybe the young whippersnappers, the 20-year-olds, the 19-year-olds, the young bloods going out there and sending it on the front line in the pits. I, from my position, couldn't see any sort of crazy moshing at any point. Again, I think a lot to do with it as well is when the stage presence and the stage production is so insane, you kind of want to just take in the actual absurdity of what you're seeing as well. Like, there's moments that maybe you want to mosh because the song is going insane, but you're like so distracted by how ridiculous the stage is that you're like, it's like putting you in a trance. So I do understand that might be used as an excuse. Now, another thing as well, that's important, because obviously I did see a lot of the clips that, or the clips that arose, the comments in some of the videos that I put out as well. People were saying, oh my God, the crowd is dead. And I did think that myself, from my position. A lot of my videos, that was pretty much my POV for the entire show. And there's like no fucking crowd surfing. I've seen one person crowd surfing, I believe. But like, from other than that, there was like no crowd surfing. There was no crazy like fucking hands and limbs flying everywhere. There was no jumping around. It was all very, you know, well behaved. Noah did say something on the stage which alludes to maybe he was told something in advance by the venue to like not encourage any sort of like moshing or anything along those lines. He did say something along the lines of, before, I think it was one of the heavier songs, Artificial Suicide, he maybe said something like, you guys, you know, have fun with this one, or go crazy for this one. And then he specifically said after that, he was like, that's all I'm allowed to say. So I'm guessing he was probably told in advance, look, this is a big commercial venue. This is not like a fucking small metal show. You know what I mean? So this is like a big amount of people to control, and we don't want to give our security any extra work to do tonight. So it sounded like he was briefed probably quite heavily to like not encourage people to mosh, or the show will be shut down. I don't know for certain, but just based on what he said, it kind of implied. Now, I don't know if there was like a strict security presence up at the front that was actually like actively stopping people from moving around, because he only said that after a couple of songs. I don't think that was anything to do with the crowd being a little bit dead. I did see some clips of like maybe some like mosh pits and circle pits, but it wasn't the most insane crowd I've ever seen, which is kind of unfortunate. But again, Bad Omens' new music doesn't really lend itself too much to like crazy mosh pitting and shit like that. There is moments, but it's a very stop-starty kind of set in terms of like some sad songs, some industrial songs that are more like ass shakers as opposed to like beat down songs that you like really throw down to. So it is a bit of a mixed bag. So I kind of get it at the same time. The band isn't trying to make crazy mosh pit music, so they can't really anticipate the crowd to be moshing for the whole thing. But I did personally feel the crowd was a little bit dead. Obviously, everyone's there to see Bad Omens, so it's not like there's a few blow-ins that are just like, oh, I don't really care about their music. These are all fans. There just wasn't really a lot of moshing, and maybe it's to do with maybe the new demographic of Bad Omens fans that have come in over the last couple of years or so. It's maybe a new audience to like your traditional metalheads, which again is fine. I've only come in the past couple of years as well, so I get it. I don't really like the whole like culture of moshing. I get it, it's a part of metal, but it's not something that really appeals to me too much. I don't really love the idea of throwing myself into something. It's just not me. It's not for a lot of people. And maybe other people in the Dublin scene in Ireland are much the same. I don't know. I can't speak for thousands of people, but all I can speak of is, in my opinion, crowd wasn't great. People online seem to think that the crowd wasn't great from the videos. Noah did mention this in the set and say, you know, he kind of implied that he'd been told in advance. And that's it. That's all I can say on that specifically. Some personal moments for me. There was a lot of people that recognized myself from, whether it be my own personal channel that you're watching right now or the Metal Roundup podcast. This was personally my kind of weirdest experience with a live gig in terms of people recognizing me, which was kind of scary in a way. It's like, it was a lot of people saying hello, coming up, getting pictures, which was kind of mad. Before, I've had like people coming over and just saying, hey, I've seen your content, or even just say hello, and that's about it. People were like genuinely delighted to see me, which was so fucking humbling. And I love that people actually come over, because sometimes people will say, oh, I seen you there, but I just didn't want to say hello. And I would hate to think that people would be like afraid to come over and say hello. So that was like a personally very cool moment for me. I spend a lot of time sitting at this desk talking to the camera, seeing the comments. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's hard to like feel as though people are real sometimes, because I never really meet those people until I go to shows like this. And then it's like, oh my God, these comments that I'm seeing throughout the entire fucking year while I sit in this office are like real life people that all have their own like paths and shit. And then you just meet them and it's the fucking coolest thing in the world, you know? So shout out to anyone who came over, said hello, got in a picture. I think his name is Finley. I might be fucking it up, but Finley bought me a drink. Shout out to Finley. I think it was Finley. If I'm getting that wrong, I'm so sorry. But you know who you are. You bought me a drink and I really appreciated that. And yeah, it was a great experience. I look forward to more moments like that. So if you guys ever see me out and about at a show, don't be afraid to come over and say hello. I prepare myself in advance for these moments where I can say hello to people and like have a chat with you guys. So don't ever feel like I'm not going to want to do that. So yeah, shout out to everyone who came over and said hello. That was a pretty wild experience for me. Look, I might pass out with this shit. I've been fighting for my life for 40 minutes here. Is the show worth it? I think if you watch this far, you know it is. I think it was 85 euro. This might be like slander in some way. If it's not 85 euro, that's not the right word I'm looking for here. Or like misleading information. I think I paid 85 euro. If not, it was 55 euro. But 85 euro in this economy sounds probably more accurate. Either way, 55 or 85 euro, still pretty pricey for a ticket. So it's definitely something to be considered if you're going to spend that money to go to a show. Should you go and see them? Yes, of course. Absolutely go see Bad Omens live. Incredible band, and the production is the MVP for this. The production really brought them to life. I think with the smallest adjustments to maybe their like lighter sound, they're, like I said, they're gonna be a formidable force in the modern metal space. But guys, I didn't expect to yap that long. I might pass out in a moment if I'm not careful, so I'm gonna wrap the video up. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one for more. Cheers.